So laundry soap, today we are making laundry soap, and I've been doing this for so long I can't remember the last time I bought store-bought laundry soap. I think it was right about the time that I realized how much of the soap in the store is water and how much it cost. So I decided to find a way to make my own, and what I came up with when I started making this, it was about a penny a load. I would imagine now it's probably up to 4 cents a load, but you will need 3 things and some water. And I'm doing this with my hair. It's not food, so my hair is not up, and I'm hoping I don't catch it on fire because it's long enough to get in the flame, and that would make the video way more exciting. You will need a bar of Bell's Naphtha laundry bar. And we're gonna grate that in the food processor. And I will say, if you have an extra food processor, it's nice to have a bowl dedicated to this because the smell, it has its own smell, and it is a little bit tricky to get the smell out of the food processor bowl. So, but I do use that. The second thing you're going to need is this, which is 20 Mule Team Borax. You're going to use 1 bar of that, 1 cup of this, and 1 cup of Arm & Hammer Laundry Booster. I've got 4 cups of water heating on the stove right now, and I've got my powders already mixed, ready to go in, and we're going to run this through the food processor and add it to the hot water. I've shredded that into smaller pieces, and we're going to add it to the hot water. I don't have the water boiling, and you don't want this to boil and especially if it does boil, you don't want to walk away from it because even with a deep pot like this will bubble and froth up, and you will have a soapy mess all over your stove, and for some reason that doesn't make the stove cleaner, it just makes you more unhappy. So I'm going to just stir that. Those shredded pieces are in there, and I'm just going to kind of whisk them over sort of a medium-high heat until they melt. And once they're melted, we just add this to it and move on to the next step. While I'm stirring this, I'll just tell you, you do need to keep the food processor handy because you're going to use that to whip the final product up at the end. And you'll need probably 3 quart jars to put this in, or whatever you want to put them in, to put them in your laundry room. So I use quart jars. I have some pretty jars that have the little clamp on, like the old-fashioned kind of O-ring, and then the little red O-ring and a little clamp, but you can use whatever is handy if you want to put it all in one big container. And you're only going to use a tablespoon of this finished product for every load of laundry, and I can attest that it gets your laundry clean. My husband's clothes come home with dirt, diesel, grease on them, and we've never had a problem getting them clean with a tablespoon of this per load. The only thing I will say is that the final texture you'll see at the end, it's like soft serve ice cream, more or less, and it will firm up more as it sits because the moisture is going to evaporate out of it. So it's very concentrated, and you don't want to, unless you're going to blend it with water, you're not going to want to put this in your soap dispenser part of your washing machine, the little drawer, and you put in the liquid. You don't want to do that. I just put the clothes in the washing machine, and then I take a tablespoon of this and just put it right on top of the clothes and then turn on the cycle. Once you have that melted and you don't see any more of the Bell's Naphtha bits floating around and they're all blended into the water, we're just going to add the 2 cups of the 2 different powders. And this is where you really want to watch and make sure it does not bubble up, because this pot is pretty deep and I've had it get too close. This is the step where you really need to get the graininess of these powders melted into the liquid, because if you don't, this is your only chance to do it, and you will have it's not going to make your laundry any worse, but it's going to make the finished product grainy. So if you don't mind it grainy, I guess it wouldn't matter, but I like to have it as smooth as possible just for my own aesthetic. Okay, so we've got that has dissolved nicely on the stove, so I just carried the pot of hot soap. I don't know if you can see, it's really frothy, and it did kind of go up, and I walked away from it for a second and it did go up to right there. So just turn your back on this for a second and see what happens. See if I'm right. So what I'm going to do is I have 3 wide mouth quart jars, and I'll tell you a little trick about quart jars here in a second, and a canning funnel. So I pour it equally into 2 first and see how much you get. You want it to just split it between 2 jars. All right, so backtracking on the you need 3 jars comment. The 3 jars will be because the final product is going to take 3 jars. Right now, we're just putting this in 2 jars. And I've added it equally to both. Let me see if I can lift them because they're hot. You can see, try and get the level close to the same. And what I'm going to do is we're going to top up this to a little bit more with just hot water because we want just that volume to be there. So I'm going to add hot water right to just like the shoulder, right about the shoulder of that jar. If you've done canning jars, you know what I mean by a shoulder, just where it starts to kind of go in at the top. Okay, so those are both right to there. And we're going to just, I'll put a lid on them, but you don't need to. They're going to sit for 4 hours and they're going to separate and solidify, and you will have the bottom about that much will be a clear liquid and the top will be solid soap. And what we're going to do later is we're going to come back and blend that together. And I will tell you a trick. If you want to, and if you have a blender, which I do not, I have a food processor. If you want to use a blender to make this easy on yourself, use narrow mouth, regular mouth canning jars instead of wide mouth, I believe is the trick. Narrow mouth canning jars will fit. If you turn them over, you can put them on most standard blenders and use them as the blending jar. And I haven't done it that way except once way back in the day when I had a blender. So you could let these sit in a regular mouth canning jar, not this wide. And then after the 4 hour mark, you come back, and I'll usually cut the solid up a little just to make it where it can cut up and spin around in a blender. But so you can see it starting to separate already, and that's just going to keep separating over the hours. So you could put them right from this stage. Once they set up, you can turn them over, put them on a blender, make sure they're screwed on really tight, and hit blend, and they would blend, and you just whip up the jar. But I prefer to just let them sit this way, and then I put each jar itself into the food processor and blend it together that way. And all my essential oil people out there, or if you like fragrance, bottled drops, you can get whatever fragrance. I mean, I found April Fresh Downy fragrance drops. And when you go to blend it together, you can add whatever fragrance you want, lavender, whatever you want for your laundry scent. You add it right to it while you're mixing it. So we are going to let these sit for 4 hours, and I will be back shortly. After 4 hours, you will have something that is separated that looks like this. I've already taken a knife to it and cut the solid into some pieces so you can get it out of the jar. If you're going to use the blender method, you'd want to do this as well. So kind of cut it into some loose big pieces. And then I've already put one in the food processor and started whipping it, as you can see here. And you're going to whip that until it's got a really nice consistency. And as it's whipping, I'm going to add water-blown cotton. I like this fragrance. You can put whatever you want in it. I don't know where I got this, but you can buy these anywhere. I just add it until it smells right. So I don't have any quantity of drops or a recipe for that. I just add it until I'm done. So I'm going to go ahead and finish whipping this, and then we'll add some fragrance, and I will show you the final product, which will look like this. It looks like soft serve ice cream or something. I've had people be like, "Ooh, what are you putting that on?" I'm like, dirty clothes. So this, I'm going to just use my funnel and the canning jar funnel and a bigger spoon, obviously. And we are going to fill this into these jars. So I'm using my canning funnel, and I'm just basically, I don't know if I can do this and film at the same time. Probably not, because I'm a dweeb. But just put it in the jar and kind of take another spoon and pack it down in there so it's tight. But I have got probably 2/3 of that in this jar, and you can see it's going to be full. So I'll show you the final 3 jars here in just a minute. So there is what I got out of that batch of laundry soap. So I've got 2 full quarts plus that much. So 2.5 quarts is what I got out of that, and you can see. So this is 160 tablespoons, and I did the math for what it costs for the 1 bar of Fels naphtha and a cup of each of the 2 powders. This is 4 cents a load, and you use a tablespoon. So you can see it's pretty solid. And I'll just do, I'll make a heaping tablespoon. Okay, cheating, but I'll just do like that. Put that right on the laundry, and that's all I use. And that's all I've used for years. I haven't bought store-bought laundry soap in, I don't know how long, 10 years. So this works great, and it works for we have some hard-working people in our family. And I like this. I like these plastic lids. I don't know where my other ones are, so I just put on some old silver rings. But these will go in the cabinet, and That's 160 loads of laundry, which should last me, I don't know how long, a while. But I usually I'll do this however often, once a year, twice a year. You need to do the little process, and then you're done. But I mean, I actually every once in a while I go to the store and look, just like look at my old Tide, Tide free whatever laundry detergent. I can't believe how much it costs, and it's, I don't know what's in those now, 40 loads, maybe 60 loads for, I don't know. Somebody chime in and tell me how much laundry soap costs these days. I feel like I need to hitch up the wagon and go into town and check it out. Anyway, hopefully this inspires you to try it. Try it. And this is a small batch. You don't need to make 5 gallons of laundry detergent. I just do this. It fits in the cabinet. You're not storing some giant tub of, bulk Costco housewife product. Just make this much and you'll be surprised how long it'll last, and it won't take up a lot of room. Hope this helps you decide to try this out for yourself. I mean, you can't really go wrong, right? And even if you don't like it as a laundry soap, it's also a great pre-treatment stain remover to rub into grass stains and whatnot. So try it either way and see what you think. Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye for now.